So are you like me and think that you might have a lost or forgotten pension pot? Because apparently there is £26 billion in lost, forgotten and unclaimed pension pots in the UK. Now, if that's some of mine, I want it. Hi, I'm Julie. I'm 61 and I am going to show you how I am going about looking for and reclaiming any lost pensions that belong to me. If that's something that you're interested in, stick around and let's play detective. So my first thought was that I would be able to call HMRC, give them my national insurance number, and they would be able to tell me what pension pots I have. But apparently that's not the case. Now that would be way too simple, wouldn't it? So, yes, your national insurance number can be used to identify you, but you have to trace any pension pots yourself. There is no one magic database that we can go to and put in our name, date of birth and national insurance number, and it pings up with all the pension pots that we've ever contributed to. Now that would make life way too simple, wouldn't it? So here's what we're going to do. Now this is going to take some time, so don't think that it's just going to be a quick 5-minute job, because it's not. There's going to be some waiting time, I think, and a bit of effort on your part. But when you consider that you might find a pot that's got some, couple of £100 to, tens of thousands of pounds in it by now, it might be worth doing. So I think you need to put aside some time, either a weekend or a day where you're not busy at work, and start the ball rolling. And then you just have to sit back and wait for the information to come to you so that you can progress to the next step. So the first thing that I've done is I have a spreadsheet, and you can use a piece of paper if you want. You don't have to go electronic, but I've put down every single year since I started working until 2025. So I started working in 1980. So I've got a line for each year up until 2025. And then I have plugged in which employer I was working for in that year. Some of you may have more than one employer in 1 year, and that's fine. Just put 2 lines for the same year. But the important thing is that you identify who you were working for each year, so that you don't miss out, or you don't forget about a pension pot. So there have been occasions where I've started a job, I didn't like it and I left, but you still have to take that into account, because you may have paid out a couple of £100 into it. You just don't know. So when you've made your list, and there probably will be some years where you can't quite remember who you were working for, that's fine. It doesn't matter. You could dig out an old CV and have a look and see whether you've got something plugged in for that particular year, and see if it's an employer. I did find that helpful myself, so I thought I'd mention it to you, because on my CV for the particular year that I couldn't remember who I was working for, then I was able to look on the CV and remember the name of the company. Sometimes I think with me, it was a case of I can remember the building, I can remember some of the people, and I can remember what job I was doing, but for the life of me, I couldn't remember the name of the company. So that was quite useful for me. Another tip that I did think about was you could use social media on the lifelines. I don't think it's quite called a lifeline anymore. And I'm thinking Facebook, because that's just what my generation used Facebook, not all the Twitter, X, TikTok-y things. I didn't do any of that. But on Facebook, it does have a timeline, I believe. I'm not sure if it's still called a timeline, but it is there. And you can have a look and see whether you did, 10, 15, 20 years ago, you might have entered a new employment in there. And that might just trigger a memory for you and be able to plug in a space. If you keep old paperwork, a lot of people do and a lot of people don't. But if you have kept some, whether it's bank statements, pay slips, P60s, tax returns, anything like that, then that's a good place to go to see whether if you've got a space missing on your timeline of employers, then that might give you some indication. And for those who are self-employed like myself, you can check bank statements online I'm with Barclays Bank. So with mine, I'm not sure how many years it goes back because it doesn't say, I have a feeling it may only be 6 or 7 years. But if you type in the search bar the word pension, you might just be lucky enough to have some pension payments that flash up, and they will remind you of pension that you used to have, or you still have, and you've forgotten to put it on your list. I mean, a lot of people know exactly who they've got pensions with, and this is really aimed for those that have a patchy employment history and don't really know how to start looking. Because when you're thinking of 1980 to 2025 is a heck of a long time, and I'm 61, so some of you may have more or less years working years than I have, but that's a long time to try and match an employer against a year. So I'm just trying to offer as many common sense solutions really of where you can look to find out who you were working for. If you have any other ideas, then please pop them in the comments, and I'm sure that others will find it very, very helpful. So lost pensions come about, I think, because people move. They change their name by getting married, for example. And old paperwork just gets thrown away, so you lose the trail. And what we're looking for at this stage is an employer or a pension provider, and we need one of those two to be able to trace your pension. So if you've still got gaps, if you've not been able to remember or to find any paperwork where it is showing you what employer you were working for in that particular year, then you can contact HMRC and ask them for your work history. And HMRC will be able to provide your work history from when you started work. So if you left school at 16, for example, then they will be able to provide you with a list of your employment history. So it will come from your PAYE record using your national insurance number, because they will be able to see which employer has sent the money to them and who they've got down noted on your record as to who your employer was in that year. And that's the same for self-employed, or even building CIS and all that. They'll be able to let you know who you were contracted to, for example, and potentially, I think with self-employed it might not give you as much information. I'm unsure, because I don't think when I fill in my tax return that I have to give a pension provider. Again, if anybody's got any other ideas of where to search for pensions, then please pop it in the comments, and we can compile a list of places or things, ideas of where to look. Once we've got either an employer or a pension provider, the next step is to use one of the free tools online, and they will try and help you identify who the employer was or who the pension provider was. So if we've got an employer name, if it's a big company like BT or British Gas, for example, you could call the HR department directly, give them your national insurance number, and they should be able to search their database to see when you were employed by them. And then they will be able to give you their pension provider details at that point. If they were smaller companies, then you can use the pension tracing scheme. Now, this is backed up with HMRC. It's not just an online tool. All you need is the employer's name. And if you type that in, it will tell you which pension provider that employer uses. And then the next step is to write to that pension provider or give them a call. And if you can give them details, for example, like your pension number, pension policy number, that will make things a lot quicker. If not, if you're just giving them your national insurance number, you might have to provide identification. And this is where I said at the beginning that it could take some time, because you might have to sit and wait for companies to process your request, your applications. But so there will be a lot of security red tape that you're going to have to go through, because you have to understand it from their point of view. If you've changed address or you've changed your name because you got married or divorced, then they've got to identify you as the person requesting this information against their records. And sometimes that can take a little while for them to process it. If you're unsure whether the name of the provider that you've been given is a legitimate pension provider, you can ask the FCA, or you can check on the FCA register and see whether a provider is genuine or not. I found that the pension that I had from, I think it was about 2000, was with Scottish Widows, who then sold their business to Aegon, I think. Aegon, I don't even know how you pronounce it. So my pension originally was set up with Scottish Widows, and I have got paperwork from back then for it, like, you know, the big glossy brochure they give you. And somewhere along that, I don't know which year it was that they sold the pension side of things to Aegon. I'm sure I've got, or would have been sent letters, which I probably didn't receive because I've moved several times since then. So once I had the original documentation, I was able to contact them and get them to change the address and all that, you know, all the stuff, the documents over to where I live now, so that they it's all ready for once I retire. So let me just give you, bear with me for a second. I'll just find my notes on this. So let me just give you a quick example, Flo. So if you can't remember who you worked for between a set of years, say pick 1988 and 1994, the first step is to contact HMRC and ask for your employment history, and that could reveal that you were working for a company like Tesco or British Gas. Then you need to plug those employer names into the Pension Tracing Services website, and that will then tell you who the scheme was with, which pension provider was their pension provider at that time. Then you contact the scheme, so the pension provider, and you give them your national insurance number, and they will confirm or deny, right word, confirm or tell you that you don't have a pension pot with them. So it all sounds fairly simple, but I believe it's probably going to take a few weeks, if not a couple of months, for the pension providers to process your application. You might be lucky and they might be spot on with it, and they might have, you know, already been prepared for people to look for lost pensions. So the good news is that even if you've got gaps in your employment history, there's a way of finding out who you were working for, and then you ask them who their pension provider is, and then you can go from there. But if we think of this as a treasure hunt, the prize at the end of this, the treasure chest, if you like, that we can find, could give you a much better retirement income once you are ready to retire, and that can only be a really good thing. So thank you for watching. I do still want to give another disclaimer that I am not a financial advisor. I'm not a pension expert. I am just somebody who is trying their best to maximise their retirement pot before 67 comes along. Everything that I have said in this video is my opinion and it is my point of view. So please do not take this as financial advice. It's never meant to do that. All I want to do is to show people what I've discovered as I go on this pension journey. So if you've enjoyed this, please give me the thumbs up. If you would like to see how I get on with my journey, my discovery of trying to maximise my pension, then please subscribe to my channel. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.